What is up, CMS Brave? Welcome back to another edition of the 14th Colony Vodcast. Surprise, I bet you didn't know this. It's me, Mr. Stack, and joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Congleton. Braves, it is Election Day 2020. All right, so we have a very special edition of the 14th Colony Vodcast today. We actually have an election special where Mr. Congleton and I are just going to give you guys some fun facts about the United States election and its entirety. Mr. Congleton, we've only been around as a country for what, 200 and some years?
Yeah, something like that. Not very long.
Not a long time. So this is still a relatively new thing in the grand scheme of things. So my favorite fun fact about the United States election. Well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's one thing that I guess let's start with your fact, because this is the most important one. It really is. If you guys don't get anything else out of this vodcast today, and truthfully, if you don't get anything else out of us teaching you for an entire 8th grade year, listen very close to Mr. Congleton right now.
Right. If you look at the numbers of the amount of people that can vote, so people that are 18 and older, okay, only about in the 50% of the voters or eligible voters go out and vote. Okay. It's always the first Tuesday in November. And now there's more and more ways that you can vote early. You can vote through the mail. You can do all kinds of different things to get that ballot in before the due date. So make sure that you guys, we know that you won't be able to vote in this election, of course, maybe not even the next election. But when you are able to vote, you've got to do it. It's your right, your responsibility as a citizen to do your part. Be an educated voter and make the best decision possible.
Yeah, and you'll hear people say stuff like, people have fought and died for your right to do that, and they're not joking. That's not a sham. They're not just trying to guilt you into going out and voting. Like, that is a very real thing that people have fought for, is democracy. So make sure you are going out and voting. And I know a lot of people like to have the rule of, if you don't vote on it, then you don't get to complain about it either. So that's kind of, I think that's true as well. So another fun fact, these are going to be a little bit more lighthearted now, just kind of some interesting facts. Donald Trump, our current president, is the 45th president of the United States. Mr. Congleton, true or false?
That sounds right. That's what people say, but I'm going to say false.
It is false. He is technically the 45th person sworn into a term, but there's actually only been 44 presidents. And you might be wondering, well, how in the world does that work? And that works because Grover Cleveland actually was elected president, stepped away, and then let someone else was in office for 4 years. Then he actually came back and won again. So technically, Grover Cleveland is just one man, but he has been president twice. So we actually have only had 44, which is pretty wild. Another fun fact, Mr. Congleton, who's the tallest United States president?
Oh, with or without the hat? I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
Without the hat.
It doesn't matter, because both ways, he's the tallest, and that is Honest Abe Lincoln.
Honest Abe. Abraham Lincoln, I think he was 6'3". And then the shortest president, this is interesting, is James Madison, who's only 5'4". He's a small dude. Let's see. James Buchanan, this is an interesting one. James Buchanan is the only president that was ever in office that there was not a first lady. He was never married when he was in office. He was the only guy to ever be a president and just be single the whole time. So
it's a older Mr. Stack.
That is, if that were me, that's exactly right. Let's see, Mr. Congleton, do you have any fun facts?
Well, a couple things just to be aware of. Okay, number one, the popular vote does not elect the president. Okay, we have this thing called the Electoral College. So one thing you can do today is go to a website called 270 to win. 270, the number 272 to win.com, and that's the amount of electoral votes that a candidate needs to win the election. Okay. And there's 538 electors out there, and through all the states, it's the amount of people in Congress and the Senate and the House of Representatives. So Kansas has 6 votes. And so someplace like California, they have 55 votes. All right. It's based on population. And so 270 to win is a good website. The other thing to think about is the fact that we're not just voting for a president today. If you went to the polls and you got your ballot and you go through it, you've got people for the state legislation. You've got for the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. You've got judges at the state level. So you have a whole bunch of different people. You've probably seen all those ads on YouTube, probably sick and tired of seeing those political ads. But those are for people that aren't just the president, right? We're voting for a lot of different people today. And so there's all different levels. They always say all politics is local. Okay. The president has a lot to do with what's going on, but really local government is more important and it affects us in a more impactful way.
All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. And I'm going to wrap it up by just saying, guys, remember Mr. Congleton said, when you're old enough, you need to be voting. Okay. That goes without saying. Secondly, we live in a country where people are going to have different ideas, different thoughts and opinions than you, especially today. Okay, you're going to hear a lot of different stuff for people who think differently, who have had different upbringings than you, and that is okay. What is not okay is to not be kind to each other. So make sure, guys, you're being extra nice to each other today, taking care of each other, making sure that our differences are not a weakness. It is a strength, and that is what makes this a country so great. And so, guys, thank you for joining us. And as always, especially today, be excellent to each other.